Hey, y'all, what's happening? We here, we back. It's getting ready for Wrestlemania, so we had to drop another interview. So we are back with WWE Hall of Famer, and if you ask me, I still say he the greatest general manager in WWE history, the one and only Mr. Teddy Long.
Well, I appreciate being here, Dave, and I want you to know you're telling the truth. I am one of the greatest SmackDown general managers, so that's not a lie. That's the truth.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Long as you know, and don't you ever forget that.
Oh, I won't. I believe me. God and Vince McMahon will never let me forget it.
Okay. And shoot, speaking of Vince, real quick, you just was telling me before I press record that statue that you got in the background. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, that's Vince's bust. That's his head there you're looking at. And I went to his birthday party, and after the birthday party, he sent me that to my house, wanted me to have that. And the way I look at that is, that's something that he didn't have to do.
Mhm.
Number two, he didn't even have to invite me to his birthday party. So things like that I take, good to heart because I know that people meant it. They wasn't just, doing something just to say that they're doing something. So thank you, Vince. And like I said, the wrestling business right now just ain't what it used to be. Vince is certainly missed, and I don't know if it's any way, but if there's any way that he can come back and straighten this mess out, I think the fans, and not only just me, a lot of the fans would appreciate it too.
Facts. I completely agree. So, so speaking of, things aren't like they used to be. Like this year's WrestleMania, you would think with all the names that they have, it would be this big thing, with the buzz and the excitement and everything, but it's just simply not that. And I remember some you said the first time I interviewed you, and another time you said when we were at a show at Center Stage, you said if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars.
Yeah, Vince
Right?
told me that.
It's insane. So could you please like fully elaborate on that, about how the proper way to build up to a match or the proper way to build up to an event?
Well, the thing that I come up with, I come from the old school, with some of the
Mhm.
greats, the Harley Racers, the Terry Funks, those guys, those two names I named, God rest their soul, but those were two guys that took a little time out of their time and walked and talked and helped me out. And they told me a lot of things, not to even mention, because they weren't supposed to tell me that, but they saw that I was trying to make it. I was trying to make it in this business and I wasn't causing any problems, you know what I mean? So and I'll say this. Vince McMahon was certainly a serious man, businessman. He didn't play around. He didn't put you on his TV because he liked you. He put you on his TV because you could draw money somewhere. And Vince McMahon put me on his TV and kept me for 9 years in my spot because I could talk and I would build the pay-per-views up. I didn't got to be on one. I just want to build it up so you buy a ticket and come and see it. So that's what you have to stand about this business. I could talk, and that's what Vince McMahon wanted. And I remember he told me this, and I say this all the time. He said they really wasted you down south. And the second thing he told me, he said they really wasted you down south. And then he said to me, he said, I can't believe I've had you right here under my nose all this time.
Dang, wow, that's powerful.
That's
And
dope.
and, and I agree because anytime you had a microphone in your hand, man, I was
I'll
locked
tell
and
you,
loaded.
I'll tell you another story. Vince, he didn't know what I could do, and I didn't really know what I could do. Vince brought it out of me. But when
Hmm.
I first started as general manager, the writers came to me and said, Vince wants you to be like Don King. So I didn't say nothing
Mm.
about that, but I don't know anything about. I know Don King, but I just took myself to TV. I took what I learned in the street to TV, and Vince liked it, so I didn't have no problem. So when you saw me, I wasn't being a character; I was being me.
And that's no Jim Ross says the best characters on TV are really just true extensions of themselves. They ain't having to pretend or be nothing but
Right.
other
Well,
than
that's
themselves.
why you see a lot of bad guys. They're really like that in life. Some of the guys that you see are really, they really, nasty in life to people. I've seen people, that their fans walk up to them and ask them for an autograph. They snub them, walk away
Yeah.
from them, won't even sign. That's just something I couldn't do. And I remember one time back in the day, you didn't do it back in the day, because they try to keep, everything, secret. So
Hmm.
bad guys didn't sign autographs. So I signed one time, and Butch Reed turned around. He cussed me for about 10 minutes.
Oh,
But God damn it, we don't sign no autographs. We here. But I didn't know. But how could I walk away from this kid and not sign that piece of paper? So I think
Right.
that's why Vince put me in the role where I could be a babyface, so I could do stuff like that. Because I take my time, man. I stop sometime when we go to arenas and it's snowing. I'll stop. I won't sign everybody, but I'll get as much as I can as I walk on down. I just can't neglect people.
That's that's
Well, you
that's
was
real
at center
solid.
stage. You saw the reaction I got.
I sure did, but as soon as your name come across the screen, but everybody went stupid, and rightfully so. Hot damn it, rightfully so. So so let's move on. Chugging on a little bit. So some of the things that you may have learned. So talk to me about, obviously, like you have a show, you have matches, like where to place certain matches outside of the main event, right? Because I heard it was a clip I saw. It was JBL, and he was talking about when him and Eddie were in a match, and he said, "Okay, let's put the pedal to the metal, and really push." He was like, "No, not yet." So, could you tell me about like when like where to properly place a match, or what this match is supposed to accomplish, or when putting together a
Well,
card?
you trying to make it a real hard question, and it's really not a hard question. The simple thing in a match is good versus evil. It's
Well,
just that
that's what.
simple. You got to have a
Yeah.
bad guy versus a good guy. That's what people want to see. But you see a lot of guys get in the ring, they make it hard because they
Mm,
don't know how to sell their character. Some guys, when they're baby faces, they don't know when to react to the people. You have to involve them too. That's why they bought a ticket. That's why they came. A lot of guys don't know how to do that. A lot of heels don't know how to do it because I watch a lot of heels right now. When the opportunity is there, you got the baby face down, then that's your opportunity to go over and talk to the people. Well, say stuff, hey, don't look so tough now. Look where he's laying. Little stuff like that. But they don't do that anymore. It's no good versus evil, and that's the problem. That's right
mm,
there. You got to have somebody think about the attitude era. You got to have somebody to hate you, brother. And when they hate you, that's money.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. There's no good versus evil right now. Nobody has any heat. Well,
Mm.
I take that back. I think CM Punk has heat, but he got general heat.
General, yeah.
I
Yeah.
love him to death, man. What a great guy.
True that. True that. So like you've been in the business since the '80s. So who are some of the bigger superstars, or like somebody that had aura when you were out there, whether you were refereeing or whether you were managing, when you were out there and you saw the superstar come out and you was like, whoa, that's a superstar. That like
No, I
really
never did. I never did look at it like that because I didn't
okay.
understand. Okay, I
Mm,
didn't know that I was supposed to look for what's in this particular guy, what's in. But now I know.
okay.
So the thing is, with wrestling, you know what I mean. You have to just be. If you're gonna be a babyface, then you got to be that good guy. Okay, you got to make. I'll take you back to this. When I was there, Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express
Mm-hmm.
and the Midnight Express had the best matches in the entire world because those guys could work and they knew how to sell. Ricky Martin would get in there and guys would be beating him and his face would be a crimson tide. And you could see the girls on the front row, they're just crying and screaming, don't hurt him. Don't. See, he's selling. That's what makes money. You make people believe. So back in the day, Rick and guys, like I said, the Randy Ortons, all those guys, they familiar, they know how to sell, but it's hard when you working with a guy and he ain't selling for you. But back in the day, they made you sell. When you didn't sell, then they gave it to you for real. So we'll see if you're gonna sell this. So a
Yeah.
lot of times, that don't happen now much. The business has certainly changed. And I'm glad that it don't happen. Guys shouldn't get beat up, because of something they didn't do. You talk to them, and then if you tell them and they still don't do it, then don't beat them up. Get rid of them because they're a waste of time.
True that. True that. Sounds like something else we missing is I don't want to say like true hard asses, so to speak, but or true tough guys.
Well,
Cause
you had some tough guys. You had the bloodline going, and I thought that was outstanding. You had that going. I don't know what happened there. It looked like soon as it got good, then they cut it off. I thought they could have did a little bit more with it, and I feel like if they wanted to revive it, then what I would have revived it with is I'd have brought in Rikishi. And the reason I brought Rikishi in because those guys are truly his sons. So
right.
why not bring something, make it real? If anybody can talk to their kids, it's got to be their father or their mother. So
Right.
bring the dad in and try to talk to him. I didn't raise y'all like this. This is not the way we come up. Okay. And then, give me that sympathy a little bit. And then maybe you have one of the boys where you don't tell us what to do now. We're grown men. And if you knew so much, why ain't you still around wrestling? Okay. So I don't see you doing anything. So how you going to come and tell us what to do? Be literal and rate your dad. That's heat. You understand? That makes
Yeah.
people hate you. Wait a minute now. You talking to the guy that raised you, fed you, paid for your college, your education, and now he's nothing to you? Just that simple.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. Like bringing in the elders and the OGs to set the record straight. I love it. Hey, hey, I wish, right? Like you said, business ain't what it, where it should be going or what it used to be. So,
Well, everything changes. You know what I mean? I think this little thing what we're going through now, this had to happen. That's just the way of the world. But like I said, I think things are going to change, and I think it's going to be better. I think the ticket prices are going to get right. They're going to straighten that out and everything, because that's what's really got people, especially right now. Gas prices up, grocery prices up. Everything you buy
yes.
now is triple the price. So how can you decide whether you want to buy some tickets, wrestling tickets for you and your kids when you need to buy groceries? That's a bad decision. But then if things were normal like they were, then you could set aside, well, I got this for groceries and I got this for me and my boys to go to the wrestling match. You can't say that now.
Yeah, true that. Because it's saying that you brought that up about the ticket prices because I wrote down the cheapest ticket to WrestleMania this year is $725, and that's for the nosebleeds. And I'm like, dog, that's and then
Yeah,
for a
you
premium
sitting in
floor,
the top of you sitting in the top of the building. The wrestlers look like ants to you.
yup, and it's 32,000 for a premium floor seat. And you can get an expensive
Not
brand new carpet
thirty-two
lot.
thousand. You mean 3,200?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I want to stick with Vince. So I saw a clip and you was telling a story about how he got mad at D'Lo because you were managing him and whatnot, him and Rodney Mack in that time period, and he said he doesn't have a black bone in his body, or that's what Vince was this. He was very upset because of that. Could you elaborate more on that? Because
Well, I can, the only thing I can say is that's true. Vince did tell him that he didn't have a black bone in his body. So, he wasn't black enough, no soul. You know what I mean? See, I had that charisma, you know what I mean? So, uh, I don't know what he meant by that. The only thing I know is after he said that, the next thing I know is me and Rodney Mack had put him in the trunk of a car and and beat him up, put him in the trunk of the car and drove off. And that was after, and I didn't manage him anymore. But D'Lo, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, man, hell of a nice guy. But like I said, maybe Vince thought he just didn't have no soul. Jim Crockett said that to me one time. He walked by me and told me I didn't talk black enough or something. Told me I was too plain or something. He said to me, but he had never heard the slangs and different stuff. So that way, with Jim Crockett, you couldn't get away with being yourself because he didn't understand it. And when people like him didn't understand it, you didn't do it or you got fired or they thought you was too black. You know what I mean? So it was hard to adjust.
so it's like they want you to be black, but just enough, pretty
Right.
much. hmm
There you go.
So, so out of all the talent that you've managed, who are some of the people that you enjoyed managing the most? Whether it be you at the events, whether you on the road, who are some of your favorites?
Well, I had the best time with Butch and Ron Simmons when I was managing Doom. They were great. Butch was what a character. God rest his soul, and I really think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But Butch and Ron, then let's see, who else did I have? I had
Yeah, Mark
Rodney
Callis, aka
Mack. Well, I
aka the
had the
Undertaker.
Undertaker, and then I had Rodney Mack and Mark Henry. I
Yup.
managed them, Rodney Mack and myself. We were doing the White Boy Challenge at that time, so that was
Mm-hmm.
really great. And a lot of people don't know that Vince McMahon, everything I said out there on the White Boy Challenge, Vince McMahon wrote that.
But
And
see,
the
that's
reason he wrote that for me, I didn't understand then, but I understand now. I would go back to he said they wasted me down south. So what he showed them is what I could do. But who could pull it off any better than the guy that it happened to? And I'm the
Mhm.
guy. But I had to learn this ain't it, this is TV. This is not real. Have your fun, but understand the difference.
Mhm. Yeah,
Don't get
yeah,
out here and go to acting a fool now because you can say stuff about white people. Don't let it go to your head. Remember, this is TV.
right. True that. True that. It's 'cause honestly, I feel like you and Mark Henry, that just I felt like that was a perfect combination, and I wish y'all stuck together a lot longer. Out of everybody that I was able to witness you with.
Well, Mark was a great guy to manage. I enjoyed me and Mark talk right now. I love Mark. Mark's a hell of a guy. But there was so much more in Mark. Mark really, he needed a manager in a way, and in a way he didn't. Mark had his own skills. This man, you're talking to the world's strongest man, and this wasn't nothing they made up. This is the truth. Mark Henry was the world's strongest man. I've seen him pull buses and stuff like that, and wasn't rigged like some things are. He put that chain around him, and everything was real. And I remember one time he had bent this iron skillet
Hmm.
and he bent that on TV. And me and him was riding together, we was together. So we stopped in Green Bay at a restaurant to eat. So the guy recognized us. So he come and brought a skillet out and he wanted Mark to bend that skillet. So I said to him, I said, okay. I said, Mark, I said, we're not doing that unless he take care of us. I said, now if he take care of our meal, then we'll do that. Because the reason I said that, you're going to bend this skillet will be in here for the rest of his life, and he'll be showing this off forever, and we don't have anything for it. So I told the guy, you pay for our meal, Mark will do it. He wouldn't even pay for our meals, so we left.
Just see, they be wanting something for nothing.
And Mark almost did it. I had to stop him. I'm like, no, 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 brother. This is your skill right here. You can't give this away. Even though the guy ain't giving us nothing, he just paying for our meals. But he gave him something that he can have and show off for the rest of his life. Hey, guess who was in here? Mark Henry. See, he bent this skillet for us.
Yeah, true
He'll
that.
have that on display.
And probably charging people $10 just to hold it for 5 minutes.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, true
Yeah.
that. The
No, he thought we was stupid, two stupid black guys. No, we're not, bro.
far from that, intelligent brothers. So, speaking of Mark, talk to me about the Hall of Pain in that time period because I feel like that was one of the more underrated times.
Well, the Hall of Fame was the pain was what they gave Mark. Like I told you, he didn't really need nobody. Mark was a singles guy. Okay, he had his own thing. He was established already, so he really didn't need a manager. But the Hall of Pain was good. They gave him something, to try to get him over, and that he would use, and because they know Mark was dangerous, and if he got mad at you, he really would hurt you.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. And I would not want that man to grab hold of me. Ooh.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you another story. You know what they did one time to him? Vince was going to put the world title on him. And
Hmm.
Vince stopped it because he didn't want Mark. He didn't think Mark was being mean enough. He wanted to turn him into a heel, but Mark had been in that babyface role for a long time. And
Hmm.
I guess he got settled in. Sometimes you get settled in them roles. You want the people cheering you. You don't want them booing you. But it's ain't, you got to understand this ain't real. Okay.
Right.
But
Yes.
so Mark stayed in that, he wanted, Vince wanted him to be mean. So what they did to him one night is they sent him out. We had a dark match. And the dark match means there's a wrestling match that comes on after everything, after the taping is over. Then we do a dark match for the house.
Right.
So Mark went out. Vince did this. Okay, Vince sent him out to the ring, and he sent him out by himself. Played his music, had him to go down. Mark thought he was wrestling in a dog match. Well, Mark gets down there and he's standing waiting, and nobody never comes to the ring. So Mark is walking around. He's trying to figure it out, and he caught it. He said, he's saying to himself, "Okay, so they're fucking with me now." So
Yeah.
he got mad because that was embarrassing. He's standing out there not waiting on an opponent, and nobody shows up. All these
Right.
people looking at you. So that's embarrassing. Mark is hot. They know he's so mad till there were some other people that were in the gorilla position with Vince. They left. They left Vince there by himself. Mark walked up to the ring. He started cussing. Vince looked at him. He said, "Now that's what I want."
Mm.
Just that
See,
simple.
see Vince. See Vince. One thing I can say, Vince know how to. Well, like you were saying, he knows he has an amazing eye for talent. He
He
knows how
invented this.
he invented it.
He invented this business, the wrestling business. He's one of his father. Those people started this back in the day. They invented this, man. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And how do you think when he sold the business, do you think it was hard for him to like let it go or hard for him to
Well,
sell it? Or
yeah, of course it was because this is his life. He's lived this all of his life. I rode on the plane with him, and me and Michael Cole was on the plane, and Michael Cole smartened me up. He said to me, he said, "Don't go to sleep on this plane unless Vince goes to sleep." He said, "When he get on here, he's going to talk about wrestling from the time we take off to the time we land." And I was sitting in a captain's seat right next to him, and he got his wine, got him a couple of shots, and that's what he started talking about. He's talking about me and him and wrestling and asking me different questions and stuff about stuff. That's why I learned so much from him, man. I really appreciate it because I learned a lot from that man, and to be able to work close to him was another honor. You didn't get close to Vince like that, and you know that the stuff that me and Undertaker did. Vince called me in with nobody in that office but me and Undertaker. When Taker kidnapped me and did all that, he
yeah,
talked to nobody but me and him, and I felt it's an honor to me. I'm sitting in here talking. And he said to me, he said, "You gonna say anything?" I don't know what to say. I'm just listening. So he asked me a question. He says, "When you come down in that coffin," he says, "how are you gonna get air? How are you gonna breathe?" And something just came to me. I said, "Vince," I said, "I'll take my finger and I'll raise that lid just enough so I can get air and where the people won't see it." He looks at me, "God damn it, that's good shit. That's good shit."
good, good. But so speaking of the Undertaker, like we said, you managed him when he was Mark Callis. Could you talk about the evolution from like Mark Callis to actually becoming the Undertaker?
Well,
And
it was me, Mark Callis. We was in WCW is when I
mhm.
was managing there. Ole Anderson, God rest his soul, he was the booker. For some reason there, he didn't like Undertaker. So I don't know, but some reason he told him he had red hair. He'd never draw a dime. So we were sitting in this room, me and Taker and Jim Hurd. Jim Hurd was the guy in charge. So Jim Hurd was talking to me about another person there, and Jim Hurd told me he was running the company. He told me, he said, "This guy doesn't like you, Teddy. I don't know why." So anyway, me after he got through telling Taker about what Ole wanted to do, Taker quit. Taker left. He said, "Well, I'm going to New York." So when Taker went to New York, Vince discovered him and showed Ole and the rest of those people what they had. Okay, so that's who invented the Undertaker gimmick was Vince.
Greatness, sure greatness. So,
Yeah.
could you talk to me about your first WrestleMania that you went to?
I
If you
believe I don't know what year it was, but I believe it was in Detroit, Michigan, at Ford Field. I think that was the first one. And I was a referee, and I don't remember the match I did, but I did that. I think that was my first WrestleMania.
okay, what was that experience like?
Oh, well, just another day on the job, man. You know what I
Another
mean?
day
That's how
on
you
the
got to look at
job.
it. But I mean, you're looking at people, you never seen all these many people in your entire life, man. And I mean, they're responding to you. I remember I was in Atlanta, Georgia, and the first time I walked out in Atlanta, Georgia, I got the biggest pop of the night. I mean, it went nuts. Even John Cena said something about it. I walked back through the dressing room, and he looks at me and he says, "Damn, Teddy."
Damn,
So I,
Ted.
I don't know whether that means damn I'm wrong or damn I'm right, but it caught his attention because of the response I got. So with Taker, it was just great.
Okay, yes sir, yes sir. But, so this year, we got a lot of new faces on the WrestleMania card this year. And when you were general manager, yeah, a lot of new faces came along. So I believe it was called what I just wrote it down. Give me just a second. The New Talent Initiative or whatever. Well, not
Yeah,
whatever.
I
That's
remember
what it's
that.
called. New Talent
Yeah.
Initiative. And guys like Bobby Lashley, Mr. Kennedy, and MVP came through that. So could you talk to me about what you first thought of when you first saw Bobby Lashley?
Uh, I thought he was a good competitor. He looked good. You know what I mean? He was a little. His work wasn't really that good, but a lot of guys come in that work not good. You got to learn. You got to work a while, and then work with different with guys that know how to work, so you can learn from them. But I always thought Bobby was going to be good. He had a good look.
Okay. What about Mr. Kennedy? I felt like he was one of the shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Well, sometimes guys do things to themselves. Sometimes it's not the
Mm,
company. Okay. So
okay.
sometimes you can cause yourself not to get used or to get fired or something. So, like I said, Kennedy was good too. We worked with him before he was Mr. Kennedy. You know, Rodney Mack had him, and he came out when we was doing the White Boy Challenge. And I said to him, I said, "So you so white, you want to be so white, you didn't even dye your hair white."
Damn.
I did
Damn.
say that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But all that was funny. It was entertaining. You know what I mean? And so I knew what Vince wanted. So, but Kennedy was a great guy. I got along with him too. I'd see him every now and then on different signings and stuff. But he's my man.
Okay. Okay. Yes. And so, but you said certain things will cause you not to get used. What were some of those things? Might maybe not applying to Kennedy, but just in general.
Well, you anybody, including me, you gotta pass the drug tests. That's another thing. And
True
I
that.
mean, to really bother you about weed, it was really something. But it's what you gotta do. You know, I quit for 2 years because I didn't want to let Vince down. I did. This man's giving me the opportunity, and they had other people that were making me take the drug test because they were trying to catch me to say I'm smoking weed so they could go back and tell Vince. You know, but I didn't give them that chance. I stopped. I stopped for 2 years, brother. But I wanted to let Vince know you ain't got to worry about me. Whatever you need, I got it. Cause I appreciate what you're doing for me. He showed me what I had. I didn't even know it.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Shoot, you said drug test and whatnot. Stay off the weed, like Stephen A. Smith says.
That's what I'm saying. And they were fining guys at the time, man. Fines were $1,000, 1,500 for the second time. I mean, that kind of money you was paying to smoke weed.
Yeah, not.
But some guys they could afford to do it. You know what I mean? So
True that. True
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
talk to me about MVP because
MVP.
because watching him as growing up and whatnot, I actually liked his character. I felt like he could have went further. Probably could have got a world title run, but for whatever reason didn't work. But your thoughts?
Well, MVP was a great guy. I love him. I see him now and often, and I get a chance to talk to him. You know, he was a guy just didn't take no mess. Uh, he didn't get along with the office personnel. You know what I mean? Because it just some people, they just don't like you, and you know it, but they show you on TV because they send you out and they beat you, or they'll send you out and have somebody do some stupid stuff to you to make you look bad. So but he was great with what he did. He was just a guy that didn't take no mess. And a lot of time with office, some of those people, if you don't take no mess, then they don't want you.
Ah,
If you start speaking up,
so they don't want you. That's insane. Because obviously, reading around, they say you got to be.
brother, listen. You look at the world right now. If you don't know what's going on now, you got to be dumb as a sack of rocks. Okay, so look at what's happening now. It's out. It's there. Okay, so it's right now, man. It's every man for himself.
Yeah,
So you just got to look out for yourself now and be careful driving. You got these people, everybody got a gun. So you got
that's
all these
true.
road rage people. So to leave them alone, because if they shoot you, you can't come back from that. So just move out the way, let them go it on and let them go act the fool with somebody else. Because then they'll run up on the right person, another person that's got a gun, and they might find out what that feels like. So you just have to be careful out here now, man. It's just, you got to be careful.
True that. True that. True that.
You don't trust nobody. Nobody.
DTA. Don't trust anybody. But so you were while you were GM, we are on the 20-year anniversary of WrestleMania 22 because obviously WrestleMania 42. And let's talk about when Rey Mysterio went on to the main event, ended up winning the belt. Now, earlier before that November, Eddie Guerrero ended up passing. And I feel like, they were showing a lot. They got a lot of people emotionally invested in Rey Mysterio after that, showing him, backstage praying to Eddie and whatnot, and Randy Orton talking bad about him, saying he ain't in heaven, he in hell. So, could you talk to me about, the day you showed up and they said Eddie passed?
I was he passed in Milwaukee, no, not Milwaukee, Minneapolis. We were there for a show and we were staying at the Marriott Hotel there. Didn't know anything about it until I got the TV. When I got the TV, the first person I run into was Fit Finlay. So I speak to him, we laughing and joking, and he wasn't smiling too good, you know. And I said, "You everything okay?" And he looked at me and said, you don't know?" I said, "No, what?" He said, "Eddie passed."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow. And I was right there we was all staying in that same hotel. So that was a big blow to me because me and Eddie were good together. Eddie was great, man. He would always take advice. He took advice from me one time. So you had to be all right with him, you know.
Yeah.
I just saw something he did, and I just mentioned it to him. It wasn't no biggie, and then because I knew he had done it another way, I've watched it several times, and I told him, "Well, why you didn't do it like you always do?" And he looks at me and he says, "You know what? I thought about that. That was right." You know, but he appreciated it. But I was just only, that's the way I was. You know, if they ask me something, if I see something, I'll just tell it. That way, I learn too.
Right. Okay. Never bigger than the program.
Right.
Yeah, love it. I love it. And so obviously I'm pretty sure it was that day everybody found out it was very dull, very low energy and whatnot. How did everybody just pick up and just keep moving forward after that?
Well, it's the show must go on. I know you heard that a lot of times, and so it's kind of hard, when you lost somebody like Eddie, and you're thinking about that the whole time you're working the rest of the night. It's really bad. So, but we had to get through it. It was the same thing with guy, Jesus, Owen Hart.
Yeah.
I watched him die. Well, I'm not gonna say he was dead, but they rolled him out on this gurney, and he
Mm-hmm.
had changed colors. He was just as white as like snow. So to me, I thought that was it, but I don't know whether he died then or not. So I don't want to say that that's true, but that's the way I saw him when they rolled him out. But that was a night of a pay-per-view. So now what we do? We got to keep going. The show got must go on.
True
So it's
that.
hard to work like that,
Uh,
especially when you lost somebody. But you know what I mean? If when you're a professional, we learn to do what we have to do.
yes, sir. So speaking of Mania, so like the road to WrestleMania, right? Is the energy more like okay, everybody got to be on their A game, or was it more like you said when WrestleMania comes, it's just another day?
Well, everybody's on their A game, and plus we look at it as another day on the job, but it's also a big day on the job. It's one of the biggest shows of the year. So you're on your P's and Q's, plus your dress code, you need to be dressed nice. And then when you get out there in that ring and you got all this building sold out with WrestleMania, you want to give them 100%. You know what I mean? So that
Sir.
that that means a lot to make WrestleMania. That's a big event. When you make that show, you somebody.
Okay, yes, sir, yes, sir. So so nowadays, obviously, you said if you make WrestleMania card and out there, you are somebody. So what about a talent? What yes, what impresses you about a talent?
What do you mean?
Like what do you look for when you are looking for a superstar? When
Well, I that's not my job. You know what I mean? To look for a superstar. I can help you in your work or what you need to kind of make you a superstar, make your progress. If I had to be the guy to do that, I'd certainly look for a guy that has the look. Not only if you got the look, I'd like to have a guy that don't need a manager. I like because you see some guys, they're wrestlers plus they're entertainers. That's why you saw different guys that came out. Rock never had a manager. For what? You know what I mean? He
yeah,
don't need one. So that's the difference. Some guys can talk and then get in the ring and perform. So you want to look for that. If you got that in a guy, then you got a couple of things going for you. But guys just have to learn. NXT is the best. If you can get in there where those guys down there can get you and train you, you're gonna get it right. So that's the thing I look for too, to see who trained you or where did you come from. Because there's a lot of guys that get trained on the indies and they're getting trained by guys that don't have a clue. So, but they don't know, this guy's telling them, well, I worked for WWE one time and I worked for WCW, and I, blah, blah, blah. So you're taking this, like, okay, well, maybe I'm getting trained right. So, but you're not. And it's a shame some guys would do that, take guys' money and then tell them, that I know some people up there in NXT and WWE, I can get you in. You don't know nobody. If you did, you'd still be there.
okay, all right, yes, sir. So so like you said, wrestling ain't real. A lot of people say, oh, it's fake or whatever. Me,
Well, it's not real. It's not when I say that, it's entertainment. That's what we
right?
say. It's
Or
entertainment.
scripted, right?
Right. Just
It's
like
scripted.
everything else you watch on TV.
True that. So what would be three matches you would show to three? I'm sorry. What were three matches you would show to a non-wrestling believer or a non-wrestling fan to
I
possibly
would
get them interested?
I'd show the Rock and Roll Express. I would show the Midnight Express. I would show the Steiner Brothers. Um, wow, Butch Reed, Ron Simmons, they made it real. APA, they didn't play. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean, they didn't play.
yeah.
So those about the guys that I would. Well, you had the Road Warriors back then. They certainly made a stand. They didn't play. So you had a lot of guys back then. They took it serious because that's where we had to take it serious. That's how you drew money. But a lot of guys in the business today, they wasn't back there, so they don't understand that part. They're there to draw money. You're here to sell tickets. Bottom line, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed all the people you said were basically tag teams. That's interesting.
Yeah,
When
well, let's see some single guys. Golly, man. So I work with so many guys. Terry Funk, God rest his soul, the Harley Races. Great. Golly, man. Man. I'm telling you, I work with a million guys.
okay, all right, cool. Yes, sir. So we got more coming from Teddy Long. Stay tuned for part two.